All right. Hey there. Good morning, everybody. It's not quite afternoon yet. Not here anyway. Just a few minutes after 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, November 1st, the day after Halloween, the day of the NFP release, 2024. And actually, what is this? 4 days before the election. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but do me a favor real quick. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like there, follow the channel or follow me wherever you're watching this is. You know, we simulcast this on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and Twitter, X. So make sure you do all that and leave a comment, guys. You know, that seems to work really well with the algorithms. And so do me a favor, leave a comment there. And, we'll talk about what's going on because at the end of the day, you know, people freaking out, right? We got so close on Bitcoin to the all-time high and then rejected, right? But really, is that anything different than I've been talking about for a few months now? It's exactly what I said is most likely to happen, right? We get up there, we test that kind of that swing high area, and then we pull back, and then we do the breakout, right? And so right now, it seems like that's probably what we're doing, which means we've got a couple of targets to the downside we'll talk about here. Time to use 100x on your old account. Not quite, right? But yeah, so, I mean, you know, when you get there, there really isn't any surprise here, right? The important thing to note is that we did get the higher high on the market structure, right? So no more bearish market structure. We're out of that. We're in bullish market structure off the 49,000 August 5th swing low. We also broke out above wave X. So we've added confidence to the idea that wave 4 is complete and wave 5 is in progress. With the current, swing high, the leading diagonal that I've been talking about for a while off that 49,000 swing low seems to be the play. So all this, you know, again, all of this comes in and we go, everybody's freaking out, but, you know, it's nothing different than what I said was likely to happen, most likely to happen, right? Now, we'll see if we get follow through here, and we'll kind of talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about, first of all, wow, the NFP number, right? Jobs created, 12,000. That's it. It's kind of crazy, right? I actually, it took me a little bit this morning to post it because I needed to verify that. I mean, there's a reason we don't watch when we're trying to figure out what the NFP number is going to be. There's a reason we don't pay attention to the ADP numbers because they're always off, right? So if you looked at the ADP numbers, jobs number, private job numbers earlier this week, you know, that thing surprised to the upside. It was huge, right? On Wednesday, I think it came out. And then we get here and we had about 112,000 was the estimation for the jobs, and we got 12,000. That's it. And by the way, that's significantly down from the downwardly revised to about 239,000 jobs the previous month. Remember, we came in like 254, got downwardly revised, of course, this next month to about 239. So it's a huge thing, right? But what's going on? Well, the first thing we know is we know Boeing's got that ongoing strike still, right? That's not small. That's Boeing. It's huge, okay? But then we also have the two hurricanes that came through. And one of them absolutely devastating swaths of area, right? So, I mean, you know, we looked and we go, holy crap, 12. Yeah, I thought Troy says, I thought the jobs number was a typo at first. I did too. You know, I really did. But I guess if we're looking at it, you know, the fact that we have, when you think about it, we have the two hurricanes, we have the bullish shark. I mean, I guess it kind of takes the sting out of just how low that number was. We'll have to see what the revision is coming up next month. But, you know, it is what it is for right now. I think it is probably all but guaranteed that we're going to have a 25 basis point rate cut. I was looking at the CME FedWatch tool earlier this morning. Matter of fact, I'm going to look at it right now real quick, pull it up here. Yeah, the market's got a 99.1% chance we get a 25 basis point rate cut. So yeah, you know, right in line with what I've been, you know, talking to you about and likely expecting here. And so that's good too, by the way. If we only get a 25 basis cut, we went from the 50. Remember, we talked last time about a 50 basis point cut that came in and how that was kind of not so great because it gets the market unsteady, right? The market starts worrying, oh my God, why did the Fed come in and cut it 50 basis points all of a sudden? Why didn't they just ease in at 25? And to their kind of, I guess, reasoning, as Jerome Powell said, if he had the employment data back, in the summer, they would have already had, had a rate cut of 25 basis points. So, basically he's saying, hey, listen, we should have probably done it this summer. And since we didn't, we're going to go ahead and do it now, which is why they did it last time. And so the market would really be kind of getting really concerned if they did another 50 basis point rate cut now. Okay. That market's like, why the hell is the Fed jumping so fast at this? Is there something going on? So a 25 basis point rate cut, though, well within expectations, wouldn't be a big jarring to the market or anything like that. And it's kind of a calming effect almost with that. So again, still what I'm looking for as well. All right. Let me see here. Sat says they are blaming it on the hurricanes, like what knocked out my power. Was that in May? That month was an anomaly too. Yeah. Remember that? They did have that anomaly back then. We talked about that then. Thank God none of the other hurricane stuff came through here. I mean, we had a little Category 1 come through here and shut us down for like a week because of all the overgrown vegetation and whatnot. So it was crazy. Would have been really bad had one of those come through here, of course. Let me see here. Nathan he says, looks like Trump is going to win. They will probably tank the economy. Honestly, I don't know who's going to win this. I think it seems like it's probably closer than most people really think. I think on Twitter, we get more of a pro-Trump kind of thing in our feed. Honestly, as a business person, as somebody who pays a lot of taxes, a lot more than most, I'm going to be honest. I don't like Kamala's ideas. As somebody that has an understanding of economics, I don't like her ideas. And I'm not necessarily saying that Trump's got really great ideas either, a whole bunch of them, but hers, God, the damage it's going to do. Talk about really slowing down GDP. And I'm not like a Republican or a Democrat. As a matter of fact, I'm not a big fan of government at all. Any of y'all that have been following me for years, I'm very much not a fan of centralized government. They tend to do a lot more damage than good over the years, and always to specific groups of people, which sucks, right? I think if you're just if you're going to get harmed because you belong to a specific group of people, that's nonsense, right? We got to love, man. We got to love each other. Nathan says it was just a joke. Seems like they don't want him in. Then again, the rich like to stay rich. But I think the rich like to stay rich narrative. I think that's I think that's a really lazy way of thinking about it, if I'm honest. I think the way in which, politicians and parties push these narratives about poor people and about rich people and all this other nonsense, it really is a bunch of nonsense meant to divide everybody. When you say, oh, the wealthy aren't paying their fair tax, their fair share, yet 5% pays 97, the top 5% pay 97% of all taxes that are brought in. I mean, when we use silly things, emotional words like their fair share and stuff like that, it's just, there's nothing behind it. It doesn't mean anything, right? It's emotional, meant to get people to feel a certain way. So, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. So, for me, I'm just so not, you look at what's going on. They're having issues with some of the voting machines. We're seeing, potentially, fake ballots being put in and whatnot. And if you're whether you're a Republican or Democrat, I think either way, you should be concerned about that. Because if it is, I don't know, but if it is one side using it against the other, I mean, all that means is the other side can do the same thing. And that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help us. We're the ones that are getting screwed in all this. All of us, you, me, our neighbor, we're the ones, not the politicians. Politicians live their happy lives, right? I'm also really concerned about the negative crypto approach by the Democrats. And again, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm really not a big fan of government at all. But when we look at this and we go, okay, you guys are in here trying to take advantage of basically once in a generation type opportunity here. And the government's coming in and making it really difficult, and, for his part, at least Trump's saying, hey, listen, we're going to do this, this, and that. Now, whether he follows through on it or not is up for debate. We'll see. But Kamala's not even trying. I mean, another Wells notice went out to another crypto company, right? I mean, they just keep on enforcement, regulation through this kind of court deal stuff, through enforcement like that, just doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help the companies. It makes it difficult for us, right? So, again, when we look at it, I find myself more concerned with the process itself than even with the candidates. And so, that's kind of where we're sitting here. Now, for those of you that don't know, part of my undergrad was a political theory, political philosophy. So, the underpinnings of the thoughts of political narratives and whatnot. These ideas of justice and politics and all this kind of stuff that we're basically voting on now. So it's not like I just, woke up one day and said, oh, blah, 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 a little bit of thought on this, which is probably adds to me not really being a fan of government as it is. But, anyway, because it all comes down to we're in the markets, guys, and we want to make money in markets. Now, we're going to make money either way. I'll let you know right now, okay? Big picture, whether it's Kamala or whether it's Trump or whatever it is that gets elected, I think overall, Bitcoin, I think, doesn't have an issue at all. If Kamala wins, I think, alts and whatever maybe have a bit more issue over the next 4 years. But I think overall they end up, moving along. But I think Bitcoin either way, I think we're good either way, guys. As far as the other markets go, well, again, I think we continue on what we're doing until it does otherwise, right? So what do we know? We know that usually the year after the election, it doesn't matter who gets elected, Democrat or Republican, the year after the election, stocks usually do really well. And so in this case, that would likely take, Bitcoin with it. So, I mean, regardless of who wins, I think we still have a good year next year. The other thing is, historically speaking, whether it's stocks or whether it's, crypto, if you put money in October and you hold it through to like April, you significantly outperform May through September by like something like, it's huge. It's like something like 14,000% or something. It's insane. So, we talked last month about October, right? And it started off down, which it usually does. And then you had all the bears coming out saying, oh, yeah, look at that October. Ha, 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 ha. And, well, who had the last laugh, right? So now we're into what, Moonvember? I'll have to thank my my image guy for writing that. I was like, Moonvember, what? But anyway, but the reality of it is, historically, this is the period you want to be in the markets, right? Historically, what happens is about, coming up into the election, you start getting jittery, right? The market starts getting a little volatile. Why? Because the markets don't like uncertainty. And coming up into the election, we're uncertain about who's going to get elected. Okay. So what you see is what we've had this past week, where the volatility starts kicking up. And this is something we've been talking, I've been talking about to our group coaching students and our TWC market, TSW Traders Club members, right, is in the market wrap that I do every night. All week long, I've been talking about the expected volatility coming up into the election. And then once it's known, regardless of who's elected, the fact is it's known then. And that uncertainty leaves. And then usually what happens historically after the election is that the markets catch a bid and rally up. So, you could just kind of sit here and not trade probably until next Wednesday or something, and probably be all right. Now, don't take that as financial advice. I'm just saying a lot of what happens is you've got the shorter term traders here, and they're getting swept out left and right by all the volatility, right? You look at this morning, we had the jobs report release. By the way, unemployment's still at 4.1%. Absolutely insane how long it's been as low as it's been. But even with just the 12,000 job creation, right, unemployment did not go up. It just stayed at 4.1%. And so, you had this volatility where you get the initial knee-jerk reaction. I talk about this every month, guys. When every time we have a news event, right, a economic report or economic numbers or something from the government, and I always tell you guys, just be careful with it. You usually get a knee-jerk reaction, and then the market reverses and does the opposite, right? And that's what we got this morning. We had an instant sell-off in the DXY. We had instant buying there with Bitcoin and stocks and whatnot, and then we had a pullback that will come in there. So, yeah, it's nothing, again, different than what we usually have, right? Right? So, let me see here. Chris, what's going on, man? He says, I'm currently finishing up my undergrad in pivots theory, courtesy of TWC. Man, I hope you like that course, man. It's, again, pivot points was something that I did. I stopped trading everything else for about 2 years, back around 2010 or so, right around that area. And I was trading Forex and just stuck with pivots and learned everything I could about pivots. And so, that I put together in that course there. And we're going to have some updates coming to that course as well that, because you purchased, you'll have those access to those updates as they come in. But for anybody that's new to trading or that doesn't understand pivots, I think it's just such an easy way to add so much understanding to what's going on with price action in your charts. And that's why I did that. So, yeah. Could I see... Or no, Nathan, you're saying you could see Bitcoin becoming the safe haven faster if Kamala wins. Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of narratives going around about Bitcoin. Is it a protection against inflation, store of value, currency, all this kind of stuff. I think we still need this to continue playing out. But yeah, it's right now it's showing it as, potentially the place to be over the long term, When the shit hits the fan, basically, guys, everything craps the bed. Okay, everything craps the bed. Everything goes down at first, and then you find things like gold and silver and whatever, and then Bitcoin now that kind of start rallying back up before stocks do, right? Before the other stuff does. But generally everything kind of takes a crap first, and then things kind of hit. So when you look at, is something a store of value? So I think you have to look over a little bit longer period of time. Bitcoin right now is definitely proving to be a better store of value, much, much better than gold, significantly better than gold, right? You'll notice as we rallied here with gold, you may have noticed that Peter Schiff stopped or rallied in Bitcoin. You can see that Peter Schiff stopped talking about Bitcoin directly and started talking about MicroStrategy then, right? So yeah, he was talking about all the crap. Oh, gold's making a new all-time high and Bitcoin hasn't moved up or it's moving down. He's been talking so much BS lately, especially lately, last few months. And then now that we kind of went up there toward the all-time high, he shut up about Bitcoin and just started talking about MicroStrategy, which, by the way, if you guys heard, I think you probably have, right? You guys have got your pulse on Bitcoin, right? But we've got Saylor talking about how MicroStrategy is going to, purchase what, $21 billion worth of Bitcoin over the next 3 years. He laid out the plan. He's like, listen, this is what we're going to do, folks. So, I mean, maybe there's more than one reason for laying out that plan for all of us to know. Maybe it's to encourage us to feel like we're going to miss out and to go buy. It is what it is. But, we do have that still going on there. And of course, once we do hit new all-time highs, of course, Schiff will be out there with reasons why it's not really, or something bad's going to happen or something with Bitcoin, because he does. You know how he is, right? Is the rumor or news true that China is dumping 10 trillion of liquidity into their economy? I heard 1.4 billion. Or was it, no, 1.4 trillion maybe. I didn't hear 10 trillion. Oh, Coin saying he said 42 million? Who said 42 million? 42 billion. Okay, yeah. Okay. There's what it was. Yeah, in my head as I was saying, I was thinking there was like a 40 number. Yeah. Thank you guys, Coin and Allison. 42 billion for MicroStrategy. 22 billion a year for 2 years. There you go. That's what it is. So, yeah, again, that's going to put some pressure on. And you get everybody that says, oh my gosh, if there's all this money, because by the way, have you been paying attention to the ETFs? They are scooping up Bitcoin at levels not seen for months and months and months, right? Really kind of bringing up, and people are, oh, well, if there's so much buying, then why isn't price going up? Oh, it's manipulated. Oh, Coinbase is paper Bitcoin. They aren't really buying. Oh, God, I get so tired of going over that again and again and again, right? It's all just silliness the way people are thinking about it. But the reality of it is people are selling. There is selling going on. The way you should look at it is, with that much inflow coming in and prices still going up or just pulling back slightly, not making this big like 30 or 50% move down. That's what you should be paying attention on, because normally that's what we would get, right? We would have all this selling going on that just kind of sends price down. We got a 31% pullback after having, from right before having for the all-time high. That's it. Usually it's like 50+%. So that's why we end up going sideways, right? It's the ETFs coming in there, really kind of people buying through the ETFs and scooping it up, and others, right? Keeping price from really doing what it normally does, which makes things really interesting now. Okay. But there is no paper Bitcoin right now, David. Yeah, no. People say paper Bitcoin. It's not paper Bitcoin. That was my point, right? Because they have to buy the actual Bitcoin. You have to buy the Bitcoin. If you're an ETF and somebody buys your ETF, you have to buy the requisite amount of Bitcoin. That is a requirement. This is SEC, right? It says that this is the only way we could do this is if you do that. So everybody's like, oh, they're not really buying. They're not really. Yes, they are. There's a, it doesn't happen exactly at the time. No, it happens at the end of the day. That's just the way it is, right? That's your ETFs. That's the way ETFs work. They don't buy and sell all day long. They tally it up at the end of the day, and then they buy or sell whatever they need to at the end of the day. But there are multiple parties involved, guys. You have multiple middlemen along the way. And so you have to go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. So it doesn't happen immediately. That doesn't mean it's paper Bitcoin. That doesn't mean it's that they're screwing you around or whatever. That doesn't mean, oh my God, they're trying to suppress price or something so they get it lower. That makes no sense. Think about it. We're going to jump to the charts in a minute here, guys. But think about this. You're a company who has to buy whatever hundreds of millions worth of Bitcoin on a day, right? Are you really going to screw around and hope you can push price lower, or hope that price goes lower before you buy, when it could very easily do the opposite and you have to pay a lot more now? No, that doesn't make sense when you think about it, guys, especially with as fast as Bitcoin moves, right? So, sometimes we really have to stop and think, guys. Think about what you're actually saying and go, man, well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay? Let me see here. So, Let me see. So anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the charts here, guys. Let's start with Bitcoin here. Let me put me down there. All right. There's Bitcoin, guys. Again, nothing really different than what I've been saying for a few months now, which is this idea that we would rally up into the resistance here, pull back, and then go. So what's happening? Well, right now, again, we had our higher high here, right? This move up over here on Monday is what actually broke this bearish market structure with these lower highs and lower lows, right? Because it went above the previous lower high here. So it looked good. But now we're getting this pullback. And so we've got the month's new daily pivot here, right? So again, my thought was that we get this move up here and then we pull back maybe to around 60 to 62,000, remember? The new S1 pivot on the daily is right here around 61,633. So I could see us coming down there for this, right? If this is going to be, 3 waves up, 3 waves up, 3 waves up, okay? And by the way, we have this impulsive throw over here and then this impulsive move back down. That's usually what happens with a diagonal. Like a leading diagonal like this that you're heading up, you're usually going to get impulsive breakout, a throw over is what we call it, over that resistance, followed by an impulsive move back down. And that kind of looks like what we're doing right now. So here's the way I would look at this right now, okay? If on the daily, if we break down and close below the daily pivot, most likely we're going to come on down to the S1 pivot here. And then what does that mean? That means, again, this is 3 WXY here with 4, right? So this becomes a 1 and a 2 here between the 38.2 and the 50% retracement. Set this up like that. Actually, let me set this up like this. All right. So what does that mean in terms of targets? Well, here's the great thing about that. If we get that, this means, we're looking for at least a minimum wave 3 target up here of 118,383, potentially closer to about 138, 140. I believe we would have an overextension because we would be new all-time high territory. It's all blue skies. I think we'd probably get at least 138. We could even see it potentially getting to 177, right? But minimally, 118, almost 118.4. And then we get the pullback down to about 92, 226. And then we get wave 5 at 138. Now, here's my thinking. That 100,000, once we break through it, should hold on a pullback. So right here, if we just get our minimum, that would get us below. So I don't think that would be correct. So I would look, see, if we get here closer to that 200%, that secondary target there, now our 38.2 comes back to 101.5. That makes a lot more sense. And then in that case, that gets us this move up. Minimum expected wave 5 target up around 167,000. Now that's minimum. That's no blow off top. That's just minimum, kind of what we expect with a little bit of a throw, a little bit of overextension on wave 3. But if it works like any other cycle, then we would expect a strong blow off top. And at that point, wouldn't be surprising to see it over 200,000, right? We'll see how it plays out. Okay. James, what's going on? He says, I just watched Fibbo's last video on this channel. He nailed this. Yeah. Exactly. So this is kind of what we're looking at right now. Let's dive in real close here. What are we looking at? What's going on? So again, we had this rally up this morning, this initial move. Okay. We had this initial move up and then a strong rejection. And we did this on volume. Okay. So now we have to see, does this candle hold? Do we break out above it or do we break down below it, right? This one, most people get very bearish on this because most of the time this is going to be a bearish candle here. Large upper wick, close below where it opened, large spike of volume, usually suggest, again, all that selling pressure coming down. Occasionally, this actually just clears the path, so to speak, and you get some push through to it. So if we are to break out back above it, I think the odds are we head up higher, and then we would have an initial target of, by the way, this is the Bitcoin all-time index here, but that would give us a target of around 76,677, which takes us just above the R1 pivot on the daily. Now, that's just a pattern target based on the height of the pullback, and if that happens, this is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because in doing so, this fifth wave, right, would become bigger than the third wave. And the first wave is already bigger than the third wave. So in Elliott wave theory, wave 3 can never be the shortest of waves 1, 3, and 5. It can be the middle wave, it can be the largest wave, it can never be the smallest wave, the shortest wave. Okay? So we'd have to take a different look at what's going on here if that were to happen. But based on that pullback, that target would kind of be where we're, where I said it is up here. Initially, that'd be initial target based off the height of this pullback here. Now, we can look at this descending resistance here. And what you'll notice on that is, we kind of, let me change the color on this real quick here. Do purple, okay. The pullback, just pulled back right to it, right? The diagonal, but it's also this previous resistance as support, right? But again, if we're losing that and coming on down here, and we close below the daily pivot, the odds increase significantly. We're going to continue on down here toward this 61,500, 61,600 kind of area as the initial target before rallying up. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're looking at now. So again, when we jump back into the, this smaller time frame here, we can even look at, let's jump into the hourly. Look at how crazy that hourly looks. If I look at this to me looks like 3 waves up. Now, we didn't break down below the swing low here yet, 69,058.73, 69,052. But if we do, that should indicate we're heading down, right? Where is our initial target? Well, based on the height here, just below the hourly pivot here at 67,164, just below the daily pivot. So right to that daily pivot area would be that. And so if we're looking at that, what that would end up being is like a ABC is 1, 2, maybe an A, B, C is 3, and then 4. So we got the overlap between wave 1 here and wave 4. And then we'd have an ABC down for wave 5. And that would be 5 down. That means 3 back up and 5 more down at least. Okay. This is what, see, people give Elliott wave, a lot of things, because people are like, oh, well, you can make Elliott wave say whatever you want it to say, right? Well, yeah, you can, but not if you're doing it correctly. See, that's the difference. And there's so much really bad Elliott wave analysis online that y'all get, subjected to, that's going to get you to think it doesn't work. But it does work. Now, does that mean you're going to get it right all the time? Hell no. We're human beings, guys. You're not going to get everything right for anything in your life. Stop being so full of yourself, right? But what it does is it helps you understand that there is structure to movement in the markets. It's not random. You can understand what's going on. And you can look for where you have potential ideas of corrections or motive movements, right? So right now, it just becomes, again, do we break out above this swing high here for the last hour? And if we do, the odds are a lot larger that we're going to break out and head up toward this, that upper target that I gave you. But again, this is not a good candle here. So, breaking down lower gives us 5 waves coming down probably toward that hourly daily pivot, 3 waves up, and then we'll start back down again. And again, I think that kind of leads us down here based on pivots point theory, right? Would give us this move down toward that S1 pivot. And that would align again with what I've already been talking about if this is a leading diagonal in kind of our target area, right? So I'm not here to tell you it's going to break out right now. I'm not here to tell you it has to go down. I'm here to tell you, listen, Here's what we're watching. And here's what it would likely lead to if we got either direction. Your job as a trader now is to wait to see which one we get. Do you have patience? That's the question, right? See here. As institutions are buying, aren't they normally hedging short with futures contracts? Some of them. It depends on what they're doing. Yeah. You know, when you're looking at futures or options, often it's used by larger institutions as a form of protection, right? Against price moving in the other direction. So, you know, generally speaking, if you're an institution buying Bitcoin, you're thinking longer term. And so, you know, you would buy short positions in futures and or options in order to protect your downside in case price does go against you. Yeah, for sure. What's the time frame for the pullback to 61K? A few weeks. I need to position my part for that. I don't deal in time. And the thing about what you'll learn, Nathan, is most of the time, if you're trying to deal in time with trading, you're going to get it wrong. Almost consistently all the time. So what I found over the last 30 years of doing this is I don't worry about timing. I don't try to time the market. I try to make sure I'm in the market with good levels that I watch the trade from. And that way I make sure that I'm right a lot more often than I'm wrong, which means I'm profitable a lot more often than I'm not. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. I know a lot of times we come in, this is the way I was when I first came in. I wanted to know timing. I wanted to know, well, when can I expect this so I can do it, right? I mean, it's just part of being human. But I had to get out of that because that was losing me so much money. It's one of the things that lost me more money than anything else over the last 30 years, guys, if you want me to be honest with you. Trying to time the market, trying to figure out how long is it going to take. And I tried to learn every way to do it. You know, Fibonacci, all that stuff. Nothing ever worked consistently. I didn't find anything that worked like really consistently. The only thing we've been lucky enough about with Bitcoin here over the last few cycles has been basically that it tops out in Q4, you know, and then bottoms out in Q4. So we've been pretty fortunate with that over the last few cycles, but that's about as close as I've ever really kind of worried about it. Other than that, it's like, listen, I want to make sure I have good levels that I'm looking at on my chart, and then make sure I'm using proper risk management and entering, you know, intelligently based on those levels, and then just let it work out. But the way I teach risk management means that even when I lose, because you're going to lose at trading, guys, there's no two way. You're never going to get it perfect. You're always going to be at some point losing money. So the way I teach it means that I lose very, very, very little when I'm wrong. And so what that allows me to do is it allows me to be more right than wrong, and it allows me to have a much greater average profit than my average loss. Okay. Where do you find the pivots? Here's how you do it. If you're in TradingView, go to indicators, type in pivot point, and it says pivot point standard. It'll be under technicals. I've started, so it's in my favorites, but right here, you'll have a technicals thing. It'll come down and say pivots point standard. That's all I do. I don't use any other type of pivots. Just learned how to use it like this. Let me see here. Michael, what's up, man? He says alt's getting massacred. Ethereum, Bitcoin losing the key level. Yeah, you know, it is what it is, right? What are we going to do about it? This is why, you know, again, proper risk management is so important. But this is also what I was, you know, again, telling our group coaching students and our Traders Club members this week was, listen, it's going to be a volatile time coming up into the election. Especially expect volatility Friday morning with the NFP release, which we've had. You know, and so what that means is if you're doing a shorter time frame trading, you're much more likely to get, you know, stopped out to either direction because of that volatility. So, you know, if you're normally trading them shorter time frames, you have to be aware, right? This is where you have to be aware of how do you approach the market. You know, that's another thing that I spend a lot of time talking about with our group coaching students is, you know, how do you approach the market when it's this way or that way or whatnot? Because you can learn all day long how to trade, right? You can learn the steps this is how wave 1 is and wave 3 is, or, Wyckoff, this is where, last point of support is, and all these things. But if you don't actually understand how you should be approaching the market at a specific time, what you're doing there is going to be very, very much less effective. Right? So a lot of the most effective things that you get to learn, at our trading academy is the emotional and psychological part of it. All these other things, beyond the simple mechanical, this is how systems work and whatnot. You learn how and why do the markets actually move the way they do, which has everything to do with just being human, right? So you're welcome, Scott. You're welcome. Yeah. So again, nothing changing here. With what I've already been looking at. So we'll see if we can get the follow through lower. And then, you should be excited. See, one thing I hope you guys do, whether you ever join us or not, or, you just sit here and come, listen to me on Fridays, or you never come back again. Two things I want you really to understand. One, proper risk management is absolutely the most important thing you're going to do day in and day out as a trader. And you will never be a consistently profitable trader unless you understand that and you do that every time. Okay. Otherwise, you will never, you can sit here and argue with me all you want. Shut up. I've been doing this 30 years. I'm telling you, sometimes you need harsh love, right? You need strong love here, right? Shut up. I'm telling you, you have to do proper risk management. Okay. It is absolutely, it's required to be successful as a trader. The other thing is, what was I going to say? Oh my gosh, I just lost it. Something we've already been talking about. Now I'm going to have to think about it. All right. I'll let you know what the other thing is when I remember it. But yeah, it's, these things I talk about are the things that traders don't want to do, right? They're not the fun, flashy stuff. Proper risk management is not flashy and fun as saying, oh, wow, I just bagged 100X. Well, most of y'all will never get 100X. I'm going to be honest with you. Most of you, like significantly, most of you will never get 100X. Never. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying this is reality, right? But you come in thinking that you're going to, because in your mind, you're like, man, if I hit 100X, oh my God, I can buy this and I can buy that. And it's going to be so much wealthier than where I am, right? Michael's saying it right up there. Mr. Otis, look at this. Most people lose money in a bull market because they overtrade. Exactly. You guys didn't know that, right? Most people lose money in a bull market. They do. You're like, but how is that? Price is just going up. Well, look at your own track record for most of y'all, right? You overtrade. You try to trade every little movement. You don't have a plan. You're just jumping in and out constantly. Emotional. These are things that are killing you. It's not that you can't do it. You just don't know what to do and how to do it. That's the only thing holding you back. Okay? And that's why I do this, guys. That's why I spend an hour and a half every Friday out here. It used to be 2 hours twice a day, Monday through Friday, for anybody that's been following me long enough, before I first got booted from YouTube for doing crypto stuff. They wiped out everything. But yeah, that's why I do this. So that maybe you're listening at the time you need to listen, right? Because we're not always ready to hear the things we need to hear, whether it's in trading or in life. We have to be at that point where we're actually ready to listen. And then when it's said, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. If we're not in that position, ready to listen, it's not going to make any difference, no matter who says or whatever. So I come out here every week, hoping that you continue to come back every week, especially if you're not getting it the first time I say it or the next time I say it, so that eventually one of these times you're going to come in and you're going to be in that position ready to listen, and all of a sudden it's going to click and you'll be like, oh. But I know, because I went through that when I was first starting trading, right? I'll tell you what, everything I've learned about trading has helped me become a better person in life, in all areas of my life. You simply cannot be successful as a trader and be unsuccessful in the rest of the parts of your life, because all that other stuff, that emotional stuff and that psychological stuff, all of that transfers over, right? It doesn't just disappear. It's not compartmentalized just in your trading. Focus, discipline, patience, all these things, if you're doing them, if you've got them figured out in your trading, they're going to bleed over into every other part of your life. And it will make you a better human being, I promise you. It'll make you a better man. It'll make you a better spouse, a better husband, a better wife, a better parent, a better worker, an employee, a better business owner. Because these are fundamental things that we need to be successful. Success itself isn't just part. If you ever wonder, why does somebody who's successful in one area, how can they go out and be successful in another and be successful in another, right? You see like a successful, let's say Shaq, really successful basketball player, right? Very successful businessman. He's successful at everything he's doing because it's the same traits that helped him become successful at basketball that just transfer over to everything else he does, right? So, that's why I'm such a big proponent of these other things that I talk about, okay? Let me see here. Troy, I just want to know where the miner newsletter went this week. It should be out. Is it not? Did you not get it? Check your spam and your junk folder, though. If you normally get it in your inbox, you should be fine. I'll take a look. I'll take a look and see if something happened maybe on my end or on the platform's end. We'll see what happened there. So yeah, Troy. But Troy's plugging the Bitcoin Miner Stocks Report newsletter. You can get signed up at bitcoinminerstocksreport.com. We do, I think I do like something like 17 public Bitcoin mining companies. We update their charts every week, put news and information in there, social media stuff as well. And I think I'm going to add in this week, starting this week, I think I'm going to add in WGMI, which is the miner index. I think I'm going to go ahead and add that in this week, coming up on, it goes out every Monday. So WGMI, we're going to make it. Anyway, so here we are with Bitcoin. The question is, do we break down or do we break out? And that'll tell us again more about our target up here, as we talked about, that's 76,677. Or if we're breaking down further here, the odds are we'd come down to the daily pivot, bounce, and then drop on down and continue on down toward the S1 daily pivot at about 61,000 and a half, somewhere right around there. Okay. Bitcoin dominance. Check it out, ladies and germs. Yeah, man, I've got the worst jokes. I'm a dad. I got dad jokes. My son doesn't appreciate them at 13 years old the way he appreciated them at 4 and 5 years old. I'm going to tell you that right now. So anyway, I was on Investing Bro show with Tim back in the day. I think it was probably just about 2 years ago, I guess, when we were way down here, right? When we were way down here. God, can't even see it. It was summer when we were way down here, I believe. And we were talking about the idea that we'd likely hit 60% at least on Bitcoin dominance. And so I'd like to say, hey, nanny, boo-boo to all the people, the haters. We hit it, right? And I think we're only, part of the way there. I think we continue to hold, to go further. If we continue to rally from where we're at here and stretch this out a little bit more, I could see us hitting the daily R1 pivot here, right around 61.32 to finish out this wave 3 here. And in that case, wave 4 would likely be a pullback to, don't worry, you're not going to be able to see this because it's black. Yeah, 38.2 gets us the S1 pivot there on the daily. So if we get rejected here, come on down, we'll look down here toward the weekly R1 pivot at about 57.66. That gives us that wave 4. But if we can continue pushing this up a bit higher here to the R1 pivot at 61.3, we should then pull back to the daily S1 pivot at about 58.12 or so for that wave 4. And then we'll continue to head up higher there And we may even need to, continue to this being overextended here, wave count, and continue it up there. So still looking good with Bitcoin dominance. DXY, look at that candle. Crazy candle there, right? So right at the point of the release, we had the initial drop down, falling off a cliff, and it rallied up and came back up. And this is, again, is what we normally get, right? We normally get the knee-jerk reactions to the news releases. I talk about this every month when we have news events. And then it usually continues the other way. In this case, we did get the move there. Where are we kind of sitting at right now? 15-minute. The real top-ish here. 1 hour, really kind of iffy here. Just kind of hovering around that neutral area on the RSI. Stochastic RSI getting into overbought. 4 hour overbought stochastic RSI. RSI hanging around neutral, never really reset. Daily, though, look at the daily reset down here. Now, that doesn't mean we can't have it continue, have this come on back down, the RSI come down and reset while this just stays down here. But right now, on the daily, potential bullish engulfing outside bar here. You can see that we've kind of hit this this supply structure here at this descending resistance. But, it's possible we could continue to move up here. The 70.5 is there at 104.87. 78.6 is at 105.46. So these are possible levels that we could be running into. Yeah, so if we get that breakout higher, that's kind of where we'd be looking at for it going there. So we'll see if we can get the rejection there again. The weekly stochastic RSI here. Topped out and overbought, curled back down, trying to cross bearishly. We're bullish above neutral right now on the RSI. So we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But right now, those are my targets to the upside if we hit them. But if we do continue to get some rejection here and head lower, what we're looking for is an impulsive breakdown and close on the daily below this daily pivot at about 103.084. If we get impulsive breakout and close below that, we should minimally be looking at the S1 pivot here on the daily at 101.5. But at that point, the odds are more likely than not that we will continue to break down into new lows here to head further down there. So I'm still looking the same thing here. We'll see if we get that or what happens with it. But we're watching it. Indexes here. Currently printing an inside bar here on the NASDAQ. We got rejected just prior to the all-time high. We're hovering right around the daily pivot at the moment. Closing down below yesterday's swing low here at 19,880.26. Will open us up for a move down here to the S1 pivot on the daily at about 19,477 area. That'd be our initial target. On the S&P here, the SPY, again, inside bar right now, finding resistance at that daily pivot. If we drop down below the swing low here, close below the swing low there at 568.44. Initial target is the daily S1 pivot here at 560.5. And here at the Dow, we no inside bar here. We popped up, filling in the gap from Thursday. Still being held back by the daily pivot at the moment. So again, breaking down below gives us daily S1 pivot target there at 41,224. Now, if we can close above these, these bigger candles here. So on the SPY, 575.63. On the NDX, 227.19. If we can close above that on a daily, that's going to hint that the low may be in and we might break out higher here. On the Dow here, if we can get a close really, above the daily pivot at 42,220, 278 or so. If we can get a close above that, the odds are the lowest probably in, and we're going to break out higher on that. So again, a little bit of a pullback here, volatility, but we're just kind of range bound here on the NASDAQ. We're above this previous area of this previous all-time high here, resistance, support. We're above that still here on the SPY. Right here on the Dow. At this point, we're still above that previous resistance as support. So, I mean, we're not like terribly off or anything. It's just volatility, elections, and then the election coming up, the uncertainty there, and then, of course, the NFP today. All right. Ethereum. We do have this kind of lower or higher lows into this resistance around the R1 pivot on the weekly here. So we'll see if we can get a pop out above that and move up, or if we'll continue to hold the higher lows. Let me zoom in here a little bit. We are hovering right here below that daily pivot. If we lose this swing low here at 23.79 and 35 cents here on the Coinbase chart, if we lose that, we should be looking at the daily S1 pivot right around 22.95, 22.96. But it is possible that we've got a 1-2 and then a 1-2 and then a 1-2 here. And so, minimally based on the largest one here, 33.22 would be the target. But again, locally here, from this point, if this is a 1 and 2 here, 5 waves up gets us 32.16. And then this being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe is a leading diagonal, larger degree. That gives us 5 waves up to 39.45. So when we look at this, we go, okay, well, this middle one, maybe 39.45. So wave 3 on the large count should be around 39.45 or so on that as we look at it. Let me see here. So again, overall, just kind of consolidating here, but with these higher lows into kind of this resistance area. So we're just seeing if we can get that rally and that fall through there, because as you can see here, low volume node. That's what's keeping us at bay right here. See your support and your resistance all in this low volume node. So we break out through it, we should rally up and, right up through it. Like kind of as easy as we came down, we should go up pretty easily through it. Pull back and retest as support. Sol getting rejected at the descending resistance. Pulling back locally right now. This is the weekly here. Again, looking for that breakout. That breakout will probably coincide with things going pretty wonky in a good way. So really kind of looking for that breakout. Daily, look at the daily. So far, we're finding support right at the daily pivot. Stochastic RSI resetting and oversold. RSI still bullish above neutral. Again, if we lose support here on the daily, if we close below that daily, especially if it's an impulsive breakdown and close below it, we should be looking for a target of the S1 pivot on the daily right around $140. All right. But yeah, looking pretty all right there on that. Let me see here. Interesting. Biddy is doing a stock split 1 for 5 next Thursday, Andrew says. Let's take a look at the Biddy stock. See what we got here. Just sit here, wait a minute. In case y'all didn't see what that is, that's the ProShares Short Bitcoin ETF. Again, the fact that we're moving in sideways between the pivot and the S1, we look for two things to happen. Either we look for the rally up to the pivot and reject it and come down to the S1, or we look for a move down to the S1, rally up, and then either get rejected the pivot or break out. Okay? But look at this. So this is all sideways here. I mean, that's just, I'm just trying to get it, marked out there, but that's just all sideways. Man, what sucks about this, if you enjoy that, is that you had all this time here. How long was this? Basically 147 days into this, and you have this big spike of volume. By that time, you shouldn't have a big spike of volume. Looks pretty clearly like distribution. Comes on down. I think if we get the move up to the pivot, we get rejected ultimately and head on down further, I think is what we're looking at on that. Let me see here. Yeah, you just saw somebody call the last 2 years of Bitcoin as a cup and handle. Target would be at least 220. Hadn't thought about PAB. Yeah, I've seen that lots of times. When we look at this, let me just do it this way. Yeah, the idea would be this is the cup. Here's your handle for the breakout. I mean, I'm not a big fan of a cup and handle pattern or the head and shoulders patterns anyway, because they're too easy to misconstrue. But I guess you could potentially say that, sure. And then you just kind of find your target is, the height of here added to the top, right? So basically be something like this here. I don't know, 200% gets you 313,000 on that target, because you're usually looking at the height of the pattern. And now I do have, again, I use logarithmic charts. So I keep my FID levels based on log scale. But see, if we don't, there is no 220. So I'm not sure who you're watching with the 220, but basically on that pattern, it should be 100%. So basically you should double the height of the pullback as your target on that when you're looking at. Bamboo, what's up? Says, saw another guy call for a double top on Bitcoin. Guys on Twitter just don't want to let go of shorts. Wrong bias can be a punishing bitch. Yeah. And that's, that's something we talked about what happened likely, right? Is that we would say when we got this, we'd be like, oh, look, it's a double top here. And then, oh my God, if I see somebody say this is a double top, I'll be like, really? Come on. Stop with the nonsense. Because here's the thing, guys. If this is a double top, first of all, it would not be a double top until you broke down below here. And then your target would be 100%. So you're talking about 15,500 up to 70,000, right? What is that, 55,000? Subtract 55,000 from 15.5. You can't go negative, guys, on the stock chart here, on Bitcoin chart, okay? So the odds that this would be a double top, not at all. This, I mean, yeah, maybe you could say it. And then you're looking at about 70,000 down to 49. So it's about 20,000. Give you a $29,000 target. Possible. And it gets you a good area here, support and resistance, but not likely, right? Not likely. Let me see here. Tau USDT or near USDT? Well, let me see. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Whoops. Tau USDT. Let's pull that in there. See what we got. See if we got a little something, something. All right. I'm telling you right now, with the chart looking like this, my first thought is S1 pivot. Daily S1 pivot target. And so why? Because we're coming in sideways between the pivot and the S1. What I explained the earlier, right? My initial thought is, again, you either get a rally up to the pivot and then a drop down the S pivot, the S1, or you just get down to the S1 number. Normally, we look for just a drop down to the S1 pivot. So if I look at this, and again, seeing large candle spreads here, seeing large volume, this suggests this would be a wave 3. So a 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially here. Let's see what that works out. Let's see. Probably be a flat here. Yeah, we got the 1618 almost exactly. Pullback. We're at the 38.2. Coming down the S1 pivot gets us almost near the 50. Initial wave 4 target, secondary wave 4 target. So, I mean, I would just automatically come and look at this and go, okay, well, I think it's probably something like this. And then we kind of figure out what we're doing after that, right? Let me see here. So again, likely a wave 3. So this is a wave 3, and this is an interior wave 3. Again, large candles running right after each other, expansion of volume, all that kind of stuff. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe 5 here. So this may be a flat. Go A, B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I would be looking for a reversal somewhere below, you know, between where the swing low is here and the S1 pivot for the move up. Oops. Come on, get over there. Here we go. So, I mean, just quickly, loosely drawing this out, I think maybe, and here's the thing. Because our daily RSI is almost oversold, and stochastic RSI is oversold, I think there's a good chance we get the move down here a little bit further. But you're going to want to see it. You know, you're going to want to watch it to see how it plays out. But if we can get that move down to that S1 pivot area, that would give us a 944 target based on the height of that. So let me see here. And if we look at this here, almost coincides with the EQ of that supply structure there. So yeah, so I think Tau is looking pretty good. I would just be watching for a reversal. You can probably get away, I think, with doing this and looking for an impulsive breakout and close above that. If not, impulsive breakout and close above the hourly or the daily pivot here should signal that that low is in and you're heading up higher there. So yeah, I don't hate that at all. And what were you saying? Near? Near. Let's see. Where are we at? There we go. So near. It's so near and dear to my heart. Not really. Let me see here. Well, first of all, this is pretty ugly. This is 3 waves up, probably 100%. Now look at that. I mean, this, until it proves differently, this is corrective, where your third wave is basically the same height as your first wave. Now, that doesn't have to be ABC, but until it proves differently, that's what it looks like there. All right. Let's zoom out to the weekly here. I mean, this looks like ABC could potentially be 3 in here, just a little bit shorter time frame. But that looks like 5 waves down. We have a nice low volume node there. But this, like I said, this is just appears to be 3 up. Let me see if we can see something different here. So it's possible this could be, you know, an ABC. This could be a leading diagonal. But remember, leading diagonals are the exception, not the rule. So if you ever think you have one, you need to say, okay, well, it's up to it to prove that that's what it is. So this might push down a little bit. The first thing I'd be looking at is this daily pivot here at the S1. Okay. I mean, I think there's a good chance this could be a leading diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up there. Oh, that was the old one. Wait a minute. What was going on here? Oh, this is the old one because these pivots will change today after the end of the day. But that S1 pivot's right there on the 3-day, right there at that low volume node. So I can see this as a, yeah, I could see this maybe like an A, and then A, B, C, D, E as a triangle. And then down here, finish out. So that's what I would be looking for, is a reversal around this area. Breaking out above the daily pivot here, impulsive breakout and close on the daily above $4.50, 4.53 should indicate that the low's in. If we get down a little bit lower there, potentially could see a $7.62 target on that. Takes us right in this low volume node. That's nice, just based on the height there. Make sure that wave 3 is not the... Oh, wave 3 is just a little bit bigger than wave 1, it looks like. So, yeah, so that target would potentially be fine there. I would look, first of all, right around this kind of area right here is initial wave 5 target. That's basically $6.50. But if we continue through that, up there at $7.62. But right now, we want to see a reversal around this area, kind of move up. I don't think it should hit the S1 pivot on the daily, because that takes it way close to that wave 2 swing low. If we break down below that wave 2 swing low there at $3.42, again, that's going to indicate this is probably corrective here, and we're heading down lower there. All right. Let me see here. Any thought on BZFD? Vivek is now the second largest shareholder. Here we go again. CFD. Looks like, right, my first thought is it looks like a giant triangle. A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, E. Potentially. I mean, look, it just looks like a huge triangle to me right there. Just thinking the wrong one again. Wave E, though rare, can be a triangle. Yeah, within a triangle. Yeah, so my first thought is this may be what we're looking at. So again, looking for an impulsive breakout and close above this $2.55 area. Based on the height of that pattern, give us a target of 746. This has been a long time. This has been building for 163 days. Yeah, so it looks like maybe like a 1, 2, and then a 3, 4. We'll get a 5 up there. And it could go further, but just based on the height of this, it would give us a $7.46 target. Look at the weekly. Weekly's reset beautifully here. This could potentially even be like a 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that gives us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I think it's probably what we have. So leading diagonal here gives us a 1, 2, and then we have 3 up here. I want to pull back 5 up. Yeah, I think that this might be actually what we're looking at here. So that would eventually give us 5 up around 1081, which gets us pretty close to the previous swing high. 5 waves up around the previous swing high. So yeah. That's what it looks like. Seeing what else you guys are talking about here. QS. Again, as we're just kind of sitting here waiting. QS. Hate it when y'all give me ugly charts like this. Yeah, that's ugly. Actually, we could do something like this maybe. Yeah, so maybe like a 1, 2, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. Oh yeah, that'd be fine because it's above it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is an ending diagonal. Potentially. Yeah, let me show you guys what I'm thinking here. Just as a quick kind of look at this. Kind of like this here. And then finishing it off here is an ending diagonal. Maybe. Price action is not fun. There's no real impulsiveness other than here. This is all, got a lot of volume coming in on the rejection here. More volume coming in on the rejection here, but we ended up with a bullish engulfing candle on the monthly there. So still potentially all right. I don't like the breakout and the rejection to come back in. You know, if this is going to be an ending diagonal here. Again, all this volume that keeps coming in. Not usually something we want to see at these swing highs. Could. Yeah, this is definitely a flat. It's 5 waves up. Whoops. So 3 waves up, 3 waves down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. ABC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C. So we have 5 down. Actually, 1, 2. A, B, C. A, B, C. A, B, C. Maybe there. I think, no, you know what? I think this is probably 3 here. I think we still have 5 in progress here. That looks a lot cleaner, a lot better. Yeah. Yeah, I think we got like an A and a B and working on a C here to finish down lower. So I think we still got some further down to come on here until we get that. Look at all these earnings misses, though. Look at this. Absolutely insane. They had one good quarter here. It's his last one. Look how bad they missed on the last one. 2%. Almost 10%. 7.5%. 21%. I mean, I guess it's getting less and less on the miss. But yeah, I think we might have a little bit further down on that to do that. Let me see here. Got one more. Let me see here. Wait. What do you think of Link? It looked like a triangle on the daily and broke out, but returned to the triangle again. Link USDT. Is that what you're talking about? Let me just make a copy here, I guess. Let's see what we have here. Oh man, I almost forgot. Those of you that that signed up, that put your name on the waiting list for the for the founders pricing there in our revamped group coaching, which by the way, not only includes everything that I teach, which we've been charging $4,000 a year for, but also includes Fibbo's threshold theory and the TWC Traders Club. Get a hold of me, you know, look in your email for that email. I noticed a lot of people hadn't actually opened it yet, which I'm thinking that then it's end up in your junk or your spam folder. If it's not either one of those and you're using Google or something like that, it might have swept it out as spam. Get a hold of me ASAP, because once we hit the 500 on that, you're going to have to pay regular price, which still is great, $97 a month. But right now you can get it for $77 a month as long as you continue to renew. So absolutely insane deal, guys. You were thinking this looked like a triangle here? Bamboo? Right here on the daily? Oh, that's the weekly. Yeah, right here. Let me see here. Let me see what you're seeing here. It looked like a triangle on the daily and broke out. 21st of July. Is that swing low there? No. Oh, I'm not sure. Are you saying like maybe A, B, C? This is the 20. You think A, B, C, D, E like that? Yeah, I wouldn't look at that as a triangle. Remember, triangle, a proper triangle is a continuation pattern, right? So it has 5 waves in it. Each wave is corrective, but it's a continuation pattern. It's the last move in that direction, right? So if we were to do that, that would say this is like an A, and then a B is a triangle, then we'd have a C down lower. Yeah, I don't pay attention to other kind of triangles just because they don't mean anything, right? I mean, if we think about it, right? We know a proper triangle is going to be what it is, right? So I don't tend to, I know some people do, I just don't. I don't look at a triangle as anything other than the way we look at an Elliott wave. But you're talking about a trend line here? Off here? Yeah, well, the first thing I'll tell you is you've got the breakout and the pullback in. So this right here tells me this is not important, right? That's what I always do. When I draw a trend line, if I get a breakout and pull back into it, I say, okay, well, that wasn't important. That wasn't significant, because if it was significant, I would have broken out and stayed above it, right? Yeah, so I would remove that now if I were you. Looks like maybe the line to have drawn is this one, maybe. Let me see here, not from there, from here. See this right here? Touch, 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 breakout, retest, retest, keeps up. That, I think, is probably the better trend line to have watched. Still comes from the same area you were looking at, but I think that was the more effective one because it's held, right? You've retested twice, it's held. It's continued up there. But it is really just kind of consolidation here, more or less, over this period right here. If I look at this again, right, it looks corrective, ABC, ABC. But if we look at all the other alts and whatnot that are kind of looking like the leading diagonal thing, right? You can't help but go, okay, well, maybe this is a leading diagonal the same way. We'll look for a 5, right? So if we're going to be bullish, I think this is the way that would probably be the best way to look at it. And so this looks like an ABC. So maybe a W, we get an X, and then an ABC up here for Y. Most likely get rejected probably around that R2 pivot at 1360 or so. Just because it's such, wave 3 was just a bit higher than wave 1. It wasn't anything significant. But if it did happen to have a thrust out through there, I think we'd look up here toward this this area up here around $15.50 almost, where this resistance support level is. You've got these 3 overlapping candles, but you have the prior wick right here before it, and then the wick up from the bottom there, all around that area. So I would look probably around, if we can get a breakout higher here, I'd look at the daily R2 pivot as the first target, about 1360. And then if we can continue through that, maybe we'll have a strong thrust up into that 15.5 area, I think. Yeah, we have to get the election over with. Yeah, again, it's all that lack of clarity that the markets, the uncertainty the markets don't like. For sure, for sure. I mean, if we're looking at this, we can say this is likely a wave 3 here because you got big candles, you got big volume. So 1, 2, maybe. Well, let me see here. 3, 4, 5, maybe. And then this looks like a WXY. So if this gives us 5 waves up here, we've pulled back just 60, 65 there, whatever. Basically hit the previous resistance as support right here at the bottom of the low volume node. Big wick up. I mean, yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good idea there. So very likely could be a 1 and a 2 here. Heading up. And if that's the case, well, if this is going to be, if this is an ABC, we'll target up here 38.79 to 56. But if it's, 1, 2, 3, we're looking at $101 on that target up there. Right? So, yeah. SUI, I'll do SUI real quick, and then I've got to go. I'm already over here. See a lot of talk about yield curve inversion and how it correlates to market crashes. What's your thought on that? My man, where have you been? I've given my thought on that so many times. You've missed it, Mr. Michael Otis. Again, correlation is not causation, right? And so when we look at it, we have to look at more than just when it happens, right? Because the other times generally that it's happened, the economy has looked a hell of a lot different, right? So the economy's looked a hell of a lot different. And this, this time it looks so much different than it has in those previous ones. So it's not enough to simply say, oh, well, yield curve inverted and then uninverted, and that means we're in a recession. Because none of the data points that we look for a recession are actually in a recession, right? So I think people get caught up in that. Remember, we've talked a lot about the fact that since the pandemic, the employment landscape, the economic landscape are different than they've ever been previously. And we have this confirmation by Psalm herself, right? The woman who used to work in the Fed Reserve, right? She came up with the Psalm rule. And, she said, listen, we're not in a recession. I know my indicator said, oh my God, but no, we're not. We could be close to one, but we're not in one. And the yield curve continues to invert and uninvert and invert and uninvert. Longest inversion in history. There's so much different, right? They have been cooking the books. I'm not a big believer in that as far as that goes. I think it's just a poor way in which they get data. There's a lot better ways to get data, I believe, today than the way they've been doing it for decades. With our technology we have today, it's just that. I know it's easy to give really, tinfoil hat about the government, but and I'm not very trusting of the government. You guys know that, but I don't believe they're out there cooking the numbers to make things look one way or the other or whatever with all that. It's just the way they grab data. And that may be just because, I've studied that a lot more, so I understand it a lot more than the average retail trader. Not that I'm really, all that smart or anything, but just that, I understand how they do it. And so, yeah, I mean, they could, but I don't think that's what the deal is at the moment. Let me see here. SUI on the weekly. I mean, we've got 3 waves up to 123.6. So this 100 to 123.6 is usually indicative of a correction. Let me zoom in a little bit more here. We have 3 waves back. It looks like we're about to break out above. I mean, If we break out above this $2.1796 right here at the R1 pivot, if we break out above that, that'll lock this in. It looks like 3 waves. Let me make sure. Yeah, see, that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 3-wave move. So if we're breaking out above here, Bamboo, have a great day, bud. If we're breaking out through here, I mean, we've pulled back right into the pivot. If that can hold and we can break out above that, we've got 3 down. Now, that doesn't mean we can't have 3 up and then 5 more back down to do a flat here. We could have that, right? So we could be looking at a B, and then a C is a flat. So that's what I would look for. If we can get a breakout above that purple line there, look to see if we get a rejection around the R1 pivot. If we do, look for 5 waves back down toward the S1 pivot, and then you'll be ready to head up. But when I'm looking at this, this is a pretty big sideways here, and we don't really have any big sideways other than this. But this is 1, 2, 3 at 123.6 doesn't make a whole lot of sense. See, we get pretty close to that 1618 up here with the projected target off the size of this pullback here. So yeah, I would just look for that breakout. And like I said, you may get rejected right there and pull back to the S1 pivot and then go. But ultimately, if we can, without making a new low here, if we can break out above this 2.1796, that should lock this in as corrective. So either the pullback's done and we're heading up toward this $3, $3.14 area, or again, you know, maybe we're even doing a triangle here, right? So we go A, B, C, D, E around the pivot, and then we'd still have the same target. It's still the height. Or again, we have a flat that I've drawn out here, and we get A, B, C up here, and then 5 waves back down. And again, still gives us the same target area. Okay? So, I mean, that's where I would look first. As I said on the weekly, I'm not a big fan of this on the weekly. It's really kind of ugly looking. We have A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I mean, we've got C here. We broke out above, but it really kind of depends on what's going on here. Okay. So, you know, I want to see the breakout and the move up here to about $3.14, because that would give us then a 1, 2, potentially a 3. But again, it's right here, right on the weekly here. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. The only other possibility I'm looking at here, this could be 3 waves up as 1, and then 2, and then this would maybe be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as A, B, and C. So we'll get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as some sort of diagonal. But right now it's screaming corrective right now. Okay. So locally, you want to, you know, get involved maybe locally. But if we do, instead of breaking out above here, if we break down lower, well, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a leading diagonal. We'll look for 3 waves back up toward the pivot and continue down lower. It really just depends what happens here. We need a breakout above this 2.1796 without breaking down below the swing low here to say this is corrective. But if we can't get that breakout, instead we break down lower. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down, which suggests 3 waves back up toward the pivot, at least 5 more waves back down. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at with SUI right here. It really just depends on, can it break out above this without breaking down first. to kind of decide if we can get some higher up on that. But it's ugly on the weekly. It's not pretty. It's all overlapping price action, which again screams corrective versus impulsive, right? We're just about at the 100%. So this third wave just about equals the same as this first wave here. Yeah, that's, again, corrective. So that'll do that. What are we looking at here on Bitcoin before I go? Yeah, this doesn't look good. This looks like we're going to continue on down further, guys. Again, if we can break down below swing low here, target is the daily pivot right around 67,560 or so. We'll probably bounce from there up here maybe to 70.5, 71,000. And then we'd head down lower. And in that case, I think it really does kind of keep us looking toward this S1 pivot down here around 61,570, 61,575, right around there. So again, nothing really different than my big idea, which, we've been talking about the bottom here, which is we rally up toward resistance, pull back toward that 60 to 62,000 area, and then we get the big breakout. By the way, this also makes sense if you think about the fact that we have the election coming up. I know somebody earlier was asking about timing. We could potentially, as far as timing goes, we could see this pulling back. If that's what it's going to do is get back here, we could see this pulling back through Tuesday or Wednesday to get us through the election and then heading up. That's as close as I can give you toward, timing would be the idea that we that it just kind of pulls back while everybody's unsure about and uncertain about the election, and then pops up from there. All right. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it. I appreciate you staying with me a little bit longer here. As always, remember, the only thing you control is how much you lose. Please keep working on the risk management. If you're in, let me know with this. And you haven't, check your email, check your spam, check your junk. For the email from me, I've sent out two. One email and then a reminder, with the link where you can get in for $77 a month. And again, that's everything I teach, which basically is how and why markets move the way they do. It's, you learn Elliott wave and Wyckoff and price action along the way as tools to understand that. But again, you can also, you'll learn how to day trade for, income. You'll learn how to forecast price action for wealth building, stuff like that, proper risk management, psychology, market and trader psychology, all that stuff. Plus you get Fibbo's threshold theory, and you get our TWC Traders Club, where myself, Fibbo, Vince, and Andrew all put our trades in there for you guys to follow along with, and our thoughts about the market throughout the day as it's going on. Plus you get my market wrap at the end of the night. It just isn't any place that's going to give you anywhere near as much, and sure as hell not for that price. So we'd love to have you there. Scott says, what? I'm in it and loving it. Thanks, Chris. Man, I love it. Thank you for telling us, man. Because, again, I can tell you all day long that I think it's absolutely the best thing out there. But, it's my product, right? So when we have people saying, students, and they're saying, yeah, it's great, I think that says even more about it. So anyway, that'll be it. Okay, guys? That'll be it. I hope y'all have an amazing weekend. Y'all trade safe. The only other thing besides what I talk about with risk management is just to remember, look for the higher confidence trade, okay? Look for the higher confidence trade setup. Don't ever enter just because there's a chance. Even with proper risk management, you're going to lose a lot of money over time, okay? Always look for a higher confidence entry, which means there's a couple of different things, multiple things happening. There's a confluence of things happening at the same time that suggests that you're more likely to be correct than not. If you pull back to the S1 pivot and you have bullish divergence and oversold on RSI, and you have a large lower wick and a spike of volume there at the bottom of that, all those things together say you should be in long. Doesn't guarantee it'll go up, but it's about as close as you can get to saying you should, right? So Nathan says, I'm in all day. Great stuff. Love to hear it, Nathan. Anyway, that'll do it, guys. We'd love to have you in there. We'd love to have you a part of it. But even if you don't, I'll be back next Friday, same time, same place. And don't forget, we also do Beards and Bitcoin. I do that with Andrew and Tillman there on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. Same places, all right? That's it. So you guys have a great day. Trade safe. Have a fantastic weekend. And man, oh man, I guess I look forward to seeing y'all next week or hopefully in. And if you do join, by the way, guys, say hi. Tag me in there. My name is what it is, okay? Tag me in there. Let me know that you joined. I'd love to get to know you better, all right? Take care, everybody.